It was almost 2 in the morning when I first heard it. A soft whimpering sound drifting up from the basement. It sounded just like a puppy, scared and alone. I remember thinking, how on earth did a puppy get in the house, let alone trapped in the basement? I grabbed the heavy-duty flashlight from the kitchen drawer and headed for the basement door. The old house groaned around me, every little noise amplified by the dead of night. The door creaked open, revealing a pitch-black staircase. I flicked on the flashlight, and a narrow beam cut through the darkness, illuminating a swirl of dust motes. "Hello?" I called out, my voice sounding small and shaky. "Is anyone down there?" The only response was the whimpering, a little louder now, more desperate. It pulled at my heartstrings. Poor thing must be terrified. I started down the stairs, each step groaning under my weight. The air grew cold and damp, smelling of earth and mildew. Halfway down, the whimpering stopped. Silence. A heavy, thick silence that felt watchful. All I could hear was my own heart pounding in my ears. Then I heard a new sound, a slow, rhythmic breathing. It wasn't the quick, shallow breaths of a small animal. It was deep, labored. My hand tightened on the flashlight. I swept the beam across the basement floor. It was cluttered with old furniture covered in white sheets, looking like a graveyard of forgotten memories. Boxes were stacked against the far wall, casting long, distorted shadows that seemed to dance just at the edge of the light. There was no sign of a puppy. "Hello?" I tried again, my voice barely a whisper. The breathing stopped, my blood ran cold. My instincts were screaming at me to run, to get out of there, slam the door and call the police. But I was frozen, my feet glued to the wooden stair. And then, the crying started again. But this time, it was wrong. It wasn't a puppy. It was a person perfectly mimicking the sound. A high-pitched, pathetic whimper that twisted into something guttural and mocking. It was coming from behind a tall, dusty wardrobe in the corner. Panic seized me. I stumbled backward up the stairs, my flashlight beam bouncing wildly across the walls. The single bare bulb at the bottom of the stairs flickered, then went out, plunging the basement back into absolute darkness. I could hear movement below me now. A slow, deliberate scraping sound. Something being dragged across the concrete floor. I scrambled up the last few steps, slammed the heavy door shut, and fumbled with the bolt, my hands shaking so hard I could barely slide it into place. I leaned against the door, gasping for air, listening. On the other side, a low chuckle echoed, followed by a soft whisper that chilled me to the bone. "Took you long enough." That's when I saw it. On the floor by the door, a small pile of empty food wrappers and water bottles, partially hidden under a rug. They hadn't been there this morning. Whoever was in my basement hadn't just gotten in. They had been living there, hiding, watching me, for days. And the most terrifying part? The basement door locks from the outside. I live alone. I was the one who had locked it. I turned the deadbolt every single night. The realization hit me like a physical blow, knocking the air from my lungs. The person wasn't trapped in the basement. I was trapped in the house with them. And now, they knew I knew they were there. The scraping sound started again, but this time it was on the stairs, slowly making its way up to the door.